Ladies and gentlemen, John Skogmo, Jonathan, as we say, another Chicago person, which is an amazing coincidence or synchronicity.
Yeah, it really is. It absolutely is. And it's amazing that we met, I would say, over 20 years ago, and it was at different stages, and certainly in my life.
Yeah. What's interesting is that you're now in the travel business, and in addition to media in general, because Lost in, from my perspective, in addition to being a travel guide platform and a publisher, is also more of a media company, and we can talk through that in a few minutes. But what was the coincidence with how we found each other, or how you found me and Writers Boot Camp?
Yeah, so being from Chicago, I moved out to LA in '05, so literally 21 years ago. Kind of lived the Hollywood dream, becoming media entertainment. Before living in Chicago, I always dipped my toe in hospitality, but I tried getting a job just about in any place would take me just because I needed money. And so I actually got a job as a front desk clerk at a Best Western that was actually turning into a Thompson hotel. And I got to close, I was close with my manager, who coincidentally, the manager knew you because she was from New York and used to stay at the Thompson, New York. She handed me your card, and I went to one of your events in Santa Monica, and I was blown away by one of your events. And I kind of introduced myself, but you were the man of the hour. I don't think you had much time for me at that time, me being 22. I probably still have that card somewhere
That's
because it's
that
just such
is
an iconic
classic.
logo you have.
Yeah, thank you.
But to get
Um,
into it, yeah, I think years later, you met my girlfriend at the time, then my wife on Sunset Boulevard. Then when I moved to Venice years later, we realized we had some mutual friends, and the rest is history. And then we found out we had even more mutual friends.
so, John, you're an expert on many levels about media, about startups, about operationally running companies. Can you just discuss the segue and how you created Jukin, where that came from, and then how that grew?
Yeah. So, um, as I mentioned, I was working at this hotel as a front desk clerk, and it wasn't something that was not my dream. My dream was to be in Hollywood. And when I was in Chicago, I was actually lucky to be working on some really big films. Like my first time being on a film set was Batman Begins with Chris Nolan in 2003. So I was like blown away to be on a film set like that. Come to Hollywood to finally get the dream. I couldn't even get a job parking cars at LA, so I got at the hotel at the hotel fronts at
But
the
also, to me, that's one of his best movies.
100%,
The
100%.
judicious approach, he's an amazing filmmaker at a certain level. There's respect. I'm I'm not always a fan of the movies.
Yeah, I don't
I
watch
did see, I did
Marvel.
see The Odyssey.
How so? Did you love it?
I didn't love it. There are good things about it. Inherently, the one challenge of The Odyssey is that it's an episodic story. So how do you
Right.
then mitigate that?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But I
yeah.
still think it's worth seeing.
Well, I'm definitely going to go see it, but
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear most reviews on that. But anyway, to make this kind of long story short, for how I got into this business, I left that hotel job because a friend of mine, actually somebody else from Chicago, I don't even know if you know this story, a woman named Sandy Spreckman. Does that ring a bell? She started Judge Judy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She was semi-retired, but she had a friend who was looking for a researcher on a clip show. And I was actually finally getting like some decent income to live. And I was hesitant to quit my hotel job. How crazy that was. It's only 4 months in. But she said, John, you came out here to make movies. came out here to be in the business, quit your fucking job because this pilot for this clip show was only 6 weeks. Anyway, quit the job. And a clip show, think of like America's Funniest Home Videos. At the end of every episode, there's a call to action. Send your videotape and VHS tape and DVD to this P.O. box. Well, I was the poor schmuck going to the P.O. box every day picking up VHS tapes. This pilot ended up working, so then I got a staff job doing this. And these videos were really bad, if you can imagine. The envelopes smelled like shit for whatever reason from America. I had a VHS player on my desk, and I would watch these really bad videos America would send in. But if they're any good, I had to read their bad handwriting, call them up, send them some clearance paperwork, ask them for more footage. And the process took like 3 weeks to clear like a single video. And I just thought this is so archaic. And the only other ways of like clearing content, there's stock footage houses, you call news agencies, is that sort of thing. But we live in 2026. This is 2004, 2005. Online video didn't really exist. It was at the very early days of online video. And me always kind of being the right person, I think being the right person at the right time, at the right age, I saw the advantage of online video. And particularly this one platform that came out where it looked like people were posting content and it looked like they own the content. And I could direct message them and say, hey, do you want to be on our show?
Was that a precursor to YouTube?
Well, you took away the punchline. That was the punchline, YouTube. Because the producers of the company, this is weird. They actually happen to be from Chicago too, the owners.
I did not know that.
There's all coincidence.
Okay.
They ended up firing these producers. The Judge Judy one that hired me, her friend, they fired her. They made me take her job because I was finding better content and faster rates and getting them at cheaper rates than ever before. And they're like, hey, kid, you're doing such a great job. We're going to make you the lead producer at age 22 or 23, whatever it was. And you teach other people how you find content, clear content, speed. And so this clip show this small cable clip show got popular. Obviously, online video got more popular. YouTube got popular. Then you remember when the writer's strike happened, that propelled, it had the opposite effect. They were, striking against reality TV. It had the opposite effect. Reality TV got even more popular because of it. And I made a name for myself in the small Hollywood clip show community. And so I saw there was value in user-generated content in viral videos. I understood the value of that. And so we've talked about MIPCOM, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went over to MIPCOM. I was working for Craig Peligian, who started Survivor. He wanted me to find some international clips and shows over there. And I saw a lot of TV shows that I helped produce overseas. That I was a day player. I was a freelance producer. I would end a job on a Friday, but start a new job on a Monday. But I realized in this business, and we just talked about kind of franchises, to make it in this world, you got to own your own IP. And it's hard to own IP. It's hard to own characters. It's hard to own formats and movies and scripts. But I realized I know these individual videos better than anyone else on the planet. And maybe I can build a media company around this IP, user-generated content. So I came back from MIP, quit my job, started Jukin Media, took me on a 12-year journey of started as a bootstrap, scrappy business from my apartment, grew that to about 300 employees. We had offices in LA. Yeah, 33,000 square feet in LA.
How did you come up with the name? What did that mean?
Well, again, not to keep, we should call this the Chicago Reference Show. It really was a term my friends would use in Chicago. Like, hey, is this party Jukin? Is it Jukin? Is it happening over there? I don't know if it ever picked up outside of my friend group. And if you look at it on Urban Dictionary, it means a few other things we won't get into. But I kind of like the name.
Right. And when you say you knew clips better than anybody else, was it 10,000 clips? Was it? And then what became the pertinent model for you to, control or rev share or whatever certain video? Like what was the repetition?
Well, I knew the market of these clip shows and how much they were willing to pay for it. And so I knew all the budgets. So I knew that they had a $50,000 budget for X amount of, it's a great question that I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I knew the budget for the certain amount of clips, that were allowed for the show. So to me, I just worked it backwards, and it was just a great business model. So I bought my first video for $200. Bought the exclusive rights of a user-generated content because nobody knew what it was worth. I was studying the market, and I licensed it for $2,000. So
Okay.
I owned the video for $200, licensed it to True TV for $2,000. Took that same video, licensed it to the Discovery for $1,000. I knew they had a little less budgets, but I made $2,800 in a matter of 36 hours.
Right.
You know,
And how did you
2,800.
how did the buyers, the producers access the video?
Yeah.
How are you communicating with them, or how did they communicate with your growing team? Was it like a library?
So it first started in going very early days. We just built our own YouTube channel. You can access it. We had a
Got it.
mailing list, but then we really invested in technology and essentially built a platform. Think of a marketplace like Getty Images or
Right.
Shutterstock, where you can come in, search,
Okay.
download the video. We have electronic feeds. So like a 12-year journey, I mean, we built technology to help us find videos before anyone had seen them before they went viral. We pushed that virality. We were licensing to, when I first started out, it was just clip shows, but I was licensing out to every morning show, news show, talk show, advertiser, brand, digital billboard.
So you became a clearinghouse, and were you charging subscription models, a
We would
subscription model to companies and individuals?
So if you just wanted an individual video, you can go on the site, download it, and you pay the license fee.
Got it.
If you wanted us to find content for you, which we called, our turnkey solutions, we could do that. And so we were hired by a lot of advertising campaigns, a lot of TV shows, for that. So that
And that had a standard rate card?
it depended on the type of clip. It depended the timeline. It depended how many videos, but it was a weekly rate is what we charged.
What was your best year, and how did you decide to sell the company?
Yeah. Well, I'll also add this part. What also made the business unique, if you allow me real quick. So we had the licensing business, but then we had the media business. So what I thought I did was really well. So since I owned the videos, I then took all those videos and then verticalized them into different categories to create some of the first internet content brands. And we were carrying these brands on YouTube that were getting millions and millions of followers. And one of our biggest one was called Fail Army, still one of the biggest channels around.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Fail Army, if you've heard of it, I mean, it's also shown in every bar around the world.
exactly.
So we had two sides of the business. I had my licensing business, and then I had the media business. And it was a really nice virtuous cycle that they worked really well together and both very profitable. And then we took Fail Army, for example, was an international TV hit. I went back and started producing a handful of TV shows. Fail Army was a television series. We did 140 episodes in 200 markets around the world. I did 2 spin-offs, one for Channel 5 in the UK, that was 20 hours, and one for Fox starring Terry Crews, we did 2 seasons for.
So you packaged with talent. They weren't just packages that didn't need a presenter, right?
It did. So the
Sometimes they
international,
did.
the international show was just no presenter, voiceover, clip after clip. I like to say a guy getting kicked in the nuts is an ouch in any language. It's funny anywhere, right? That's my coin phrase. So that worked really well. So agnostic, right?
Yeah.
But Terry Crews, Fox, they wanted a big shiny floor. We brought in comedians. So it was a different show. They changed the name.
And then, can you reflect back on one or two epiphanies? Because obviously, when you're doing it every day, your own internal operation ends up with a certain vernacular, certain initiatives and projects, certain clients and revenue streams that you're noting and identifying. But was there an epiphany or two? Because in a way, you were also a clearinghouse for multiple brands within the pavilion of Jukin as a media company.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And
did
by the
you
way, what's
repre
also great, it added to our library. So when these guys
right?
would hire us, I would just still get the exclusive rights. So they were paying me to do my job anyway.
That's unbelievable. So,
Thank you.
but did you also have other content creators like in a lineup that were also creating their own brand within the structure of your company?
There was at the time, so I'm talking about in the 2014 to 2019 era, it was like, I'll call it the multi-channel network era of the full screens, the Maker Studios, the Studio 71s. Those guys
Right,
were
exactly.
really all about representing talent. I didn't like that business model. How we worked with talent was a little bit different. We would hire them on a day rate to maybe host something, or if they wanted to keep sending stuff, we would just keep licensing them their stuff. We didn't want ever to be in the talent representation business. Here's a true story a lot of people don't know. Logan Paul and Jake Paul were our clients. When we discovered them.
Hmm.
And we decided we didn't like that business. His manager, Jeff, he used to work for me, is still his manager today, and I wish him the best.
So that's amazing. So you made a conscious decision to stay more in the media business and the production business than management,
It was our
even though
yeah.
even though you had a variety of and a lineup of brands under
We
that
did. It
so-called.
wasn't our core competency. It was very manual intensive,
Got
and
it.
the margins were not good for the overall margins of the business. When we're doing like 60, 70% margins for the business, when you're representing talent, it goes down to 10 or 15.
Right. Good point. So a couple quick things as we segue and get to Lost in your current media. I call it a media company, and that may be a
I think
conflation.
no, yeah, I think it is. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Before we get there, when we see somebody talking about the NBA, somebody has their channel, how are they, is it all fair use? How do they have access to the video to then add their voiceover or their story?
Right.
What's the status of video? And we have other creative currency speakers recently who talk about how their own content that they create is being in a way borrowed or stolen or
Yeah.
adapted.
Yeah.
So how do you look at the video landscape right now? Because you already said it like a clip show. Well, you've contributed to the clip economy. And here we may have an index of these. These aren't long form as far as our normal interviews because I consider that 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Not that we can't talk to you for 90 minutes, but at 30 minutes, that to me is short form. But
Right.
ultimately,
You might
I
have to go
saw
longer.
yeah, and I saw a clip recently, a quote recently that said, "We used to think the clips were promoting the show. Now we realize the clips are the
On the
thing."
show. Yeah, yeah. Especially for
And you
like,
hear this phrase, "clip economy, clip economy."
yeah.
So if you can, as like a two topics, one, what's the state of video and how is everybody able to rip this video? I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
thievery. I'm just trying to understand where it comes from. And then secondly, what is the clip economy?
Oh, I love your question about rights and fair use because it's not a topic that comes up enough, especially when people talk to me. I know a lot about this subject and set precedent in the law. We were actually in a very famous lawsuit about fair use. Somebody was using our content without permission, and we told them, "Hey, you can't just use this content. It's not falling under fair use because you're monetizing it. You're taking the best piece of the content and you're showing the main parts of it. There's no educational value here." And so he told us to go, pound sand. I'm not paying anything. We were just going to charge him a normal license fee. He kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. What we could do on YouTube, we can do a claim and circumvent that revenue. We did that. He sued us. We then countersued. Um, Our lawyer happened to be one of the most famous lawyers in the world, arguably right now, Doug Emhoff. And the case was settled. And what do you read about publicly? The jury sided with us.
Got it.
It was reported in the Hollywood Reporter. So
Because they were monetizing and it wasn't for journalistic purposes,
it wasn't for
correct?
journalistic purposes. Yeah. And so, and they're using the main part. Like, so in a movie, it's a 2 hour movie. If you only use 2 seconds of it, it's a much easier claim for fair use, right? But when you're showing a 5 seconds of a clip and the clip's only 5 seconds, you're showing the whole entirety of the work.
Right, right,
So
right.
when you talk about kind of like sports rights and commentary over that, I mean, the NBA, the NFL, MLB, notorious. Disney's notorious for copyright infringement, and they have to be. Also, part of the law is if you're not actively protecting your copyright, you could essentially lose it. So they have to do that, but they're much more lax. And I'm not as familiar. I'm not in that game as much anymore. Pay attention to the headlines, but they're allowing these guys to commentate on MLB and sports footage.
Is
I
it
think they realize
inherently
it's a battle.
is it inherently a form of promotion that they allow?
I think they're realizing it is a form of promotion. I
You
really
broke
do.
up for a sec.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
if
I
you
think
could
they
just
realize
repeat
it is a
that
form of
sentence.
promotion. Did you
Okay.
hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes to the clip economy and maybe how I guess a number of influencers and content creators are beginning to see a decline in revenue. And at the same time, there's still this buzz clip economy. What does that mean to you? And what's the status of that? And what's your approach? If you were a content creator, separate from having a larger, corporate platform, just as an individual artist, what are some of the things you would be concerned about or some of the areas you would go into?
Well, I would say don't go into it at all. That's what I would say. You know, I think, the 80-20 rule where 20% of the creators are making up 80% of the revenue. I think it's a hard life to live. It's hard to sustain. It's hard to be creative. I literally just had breakfast with somebody who their wife accidentally stumbled into it. She was a comedic. Uh, she was doing stand up, and then one day she tried on some costume, put it in front of Instagram, and actually got some like nice a little bump in face and virality. She's been doing this for a year now, and she's exhausted, and she uh, is almost regretting that she ever did this now.
And doesn't
Um,
have enough numbers to
doesn't have enough numbers to
justify
support it.
brand
Exactly.
sponsorship.
Exactly. And when we talk about the travel business, I'll tell you, I think travel creators have it even much worse. And I think they're some of the worst people on the planet.
Is it because, the number one expense I feel on traveling, because if you have enough miles, you can book a flight, but each night in a nice hotel is the equivalent of the same amount of points per one flight.
Right.
Food can be, a little less, a little more, depending on your lifestyle in your normal life. And so that's almost an incidental.
Sure.
But it seems like what content creators and influencers may get the benefit of, they can travel and have their hotel expense defrayed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on barter in the travel creator economy. But when you do that, I think the problem is you might get that free hotel, you might get that free restaurant buffet at the hotel, but if it's not true to your brand, you lose that authenticity, and that's why people follow you in the first place is be authentic. And so I think what happens with travel creators, they lose a following pretty quickly because all of a sudden they're staying at a place because it's giving them for free that it's against their personalities. Every hotel chain and property
Right.
has its own brand and identity itself. And so when you're crossing over, you just lose your audience that way.
Right, and if you're the stars of Blackpink and you're at a certain ambassadorship level
Yeah,
where you're making $1.6 million per post on Instagram,
yeah,
it's bougie enough that
totally.
that's mitigated and people aren't thinking you're inauthentic
Right,
because
right. You can do whatever you want.
it's 5-star plus.
Right.
Okay, so how did Lost In as an opportunity evolve for you, and what year was the company created? And how long has it been now that you're involved? 3.5 years?
Uh, yes. It's been a little bit under 2 years at this point.
Only 2 years.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You've covered a lot of ground because
yeah.
I've seen a lot of colored hats.
We've done a lot of cities. Um,
How did
so
how did the
yeah.
opportunity come to you? What was your evaluation oh, I can do this, and what is it?
Well, it wasn't just this one light bulb moment, as some people say in one soundbite. It was a variety of factors that came into play, and we still continue to pivot, but still have the main goal today. But I was sitting here talking on a Zoom screen during COVID. I hated COVID. I hated operating a company during COVID. I saw travel come to a complete halt, which I love traveling for work. And knowing that everything, it wasn't going to be like this forever, and knowing how much screen time we were having, um, I just knew people are going to want to go out and experience the world. And then listen, there's no crystal ball. I think a lot of people understood that. And so um, I took a year off of work, or little time off of work once they let me go, once I sold the company, which was in 22. So we're still counting COVID during that point. Took a little time off, although Kelly said I didn't. Um, I kind of just went right back into it. And, I was
He does
seeing,
have 3 children under the
yeah,
age of
we
six,
do now.
5.
And maybe even a fourth one if you count me. But
She didn't take any time off.
no, she did not. I, I
Kelly was projecting.
totally, I saw that travel, obviously spending started going through the roof. But the publishers around travel weren't keeping up with that. And I'm talking about the Condes, the Travel and Leisures, and the FARs. And these are the biggest publications and media companies in travel. And why aren't they doing that? Well, they're older, they're legacy. They're from a glossy magazine style approach. They're not social first, they're not video first. And so I really wanted to think of a way, how do I leverage my skill set in digital media, but also now this passion for travel and real world. So how do I bridge the gap from URL to IRL? And so I went out there, looked for a handful of assets, and I fell in love. I looked at over 100 companies, and I fell in love with Lost In, the hat that I'm wearing now. Uh,
What was the determining
the aesthetic,
quality or
the
factor?
aesthetic is beautiful. Here's one of our books. The storytelling is innovative. All the cities that we have covered. We're talking about young entrepreneurs of businesses. Is for millennial traveler. The photography is amazing. It's edgier. The Venice Beach book talks a whole section on magic mushrooms. I mean, we
Hmm.
really go deep into a culture. So like our Paris book, for example, that we just relaunched last Tuesday for Bastille Day, we don't talk about the Eiffel Tower. We don't talk about the Louvre. We talk about what the locals do, and we interview the locals and we get their perspective. So we don't tell you where to go. We tell you why you should go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I really love the editorial, really love it stand for, and it's going for that millennial economy traveler. And more people are spending money on travel than before, especially working professionals from cosmopolitan areas that have discretionary and disposable income. And so I wanted to kind of capture that market. And so with travel, it's not just I'm building a travel brand, I'm calling it travel, lifestyle, and culture because we're
Yeah.
covering all of it. Um,
Yeah, I appreciate some of your vocabulary. First of all, I love the URL to IRL.
Thank you.
Something more subtle, but of course, inherent in your comprehension and history is video first.
Yep.
Because and legacy basically means printing.
Yeah.
So
But and I make a big argument. Physical media is making a comeback right now. We're now in 400 bookstores around the world. Barnes and Nobles are opening more
Print
bookstores.
media is that the word?
Yeah, print media.
It's making a comeback.
Barnes and Nobles are opening more bookstores. Vinyl has hit now 2 billion in sales. You make more. A music artist makes more money in vinyl than it does on Spotify. That's crazy,
Right. That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah,
No, but
point and shoot
your
cameras making a big comeback.
your segue was perfect because as soon as you said print, I was going to say vinyl, and then you beat me
Yeah.
to it.
So
So in the approach to Lost In, first of all, how do people find you? Secondly, I saw a quote of yours, a clip from another interview where you spoke about membership. And my question to you, and it's not rhetorical, is what do people actually pay for online?
yeah, are you talking about
Not just with Lost In, but
were they travelers?
what are they willing to pay for as far as, a portal or a membership?
Well,
Do they need the books physically?
you don't need the books. I think when we're thinking about membership, we're thinking about a lot of different offers. I think first off, we're building a community and a club that has shared interests and shared values. So I think that's first and foremost. And it feels
Okay.
good to be part of that club. And so when we put something in our book, we're putting it's the ultimate authority, right? We're the ones telling you about it, and we're
Because
the ones telling you where it's.
because the owners of local venues and restaurants and cultural organizations are technically members of Lost In.
Yes, exactly. 100%. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when people become members, what's what's expected of them, and does that lead to greater screen time and usage of Lost In as a platform?
I would say it might even be less. So we give a percentage. You get discounts off our books. You get first invited to our events, to our amazing events that we do. And if you do want to book somewhere, we have an amazing booking engine for hotels that are exclusively verified through Loston, and you save up to 40%.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So are you personally negotiating those deals?
I have a great team. I have a great team.
And what is your perspective of the travel business these days?
Well, I'm fairly new to it. I've learned a lot in a very short period of time. I went from, reading Variety every day and Hollywood Reporter to reading, Travel Weekly. Um, it's very volatile. People are still traveling and spending. It's volatile because of this administration, and some of the challenges that have been there, or tariffs or oil prices, wars, whatever, pick your favorite. So I know it's been really tough for the travel industry. But I'm excited. Something that I didn't prepare to work with, but I do work a lot with local governments. I work with a lot of travel boards and DMO. And I learned a lot about that industry, that every city, state, country has a tourism board, and finding about what are their needs of each of their tourism board and trying to fulfill their needs.
Right. So, and then they have budgets too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so in a sentence, what's the best way what's the best way to describe your business model right now and how anybody can get involved? Should they just go to the Lost In site and then become a member?
Yeah, I think if becoming a member is a great way to get into our ecosystem if you're a consumer. And if you are a destination, if you're a brand, I mean, we're working with health and wellness companies, fashion companies. We just did a six-figure deal with a tech company for some branded entertainment. So there's a variety of different ways, whether you're a B2B or B2C customer, to work with us. I
That's
think I
amazing.
think our audience is affluent. I think they love what we put in front of them, and we demand a lot of authority from them, because they really believe in what we do. And we are community and fan first.
Amazing. So to wind down a bit, I think people underestimate the creativity involved as a company founder and leader. So are there any epiphanies that you've had that you can share, or um, what you suggest to a startup individual? Because in creative currency, part of being a content creator may be that you also have a business associated with that. It's a cliche to say that somebody is inherently a brand as a creator or an artist. Of course, that may be true. Not everybody is also operationally running a business.
Right.
But in terms of, you have so much experience at understanding the potential of something that you create and committing to it and then being present to what shows up. But you've already almost discouraged, artists from creating something on Instagram, a persona. But what would you say to a startup person, somebody who has an idea, somebody who's looking to raise money?
So yeah, and I think to be clear, I was being a little facetious on the
Yeah, I know.
content creator side.
I know. You're being effectively cynical.
Yeah, but
Because what that
I
does
think
is
it's
it
a lot of work.
requires somebody to really commit to who they
And,
are and what they want to do.
it's kind of related to the next point that I'm about to say. So I think I don't know any other way to be an entrepreneur than just being an entrepreneur and doing it in the way that I did it. And um, it's the most amazing journey one can go on. And it's also um, the scariest, the loneliest journey one can go on it too. And I think you have to sometimes put your friends to the side without being a bad person. Put your family to the side. Miss weddings, bat mitzvahs, birthdays.
That sounds
You
like
have to
something
be
specific that happened recently.
yeah. You just have to be. This is your baby, and this is your dedication. I mean, you have to find balance, but you also have to be unapologetically selfish. Especially when you're running a business and you have employees and you have their lives depend on you and their families depending on you.
Hmm.
So I take that responsibility very seriously. That weighs a lot of pressure on me. I also have like issues where I feel like if I'm not working at 110%, then I'm not working at all.
Hmm.
I mean, you see me running around on my bike from meeting to meeting
Yeah.
on the weekends, like, and I have a mental to go see somebody about like that to say to take, but
But at
it
least you're using your bike, which is an amazing thing in Venice that we can do that, and
totally.
that's healthier than
Yeah,
racing around.
I think it's an amazing journey, but I think to really make it, you got to tell everyone that this is my number one priority, and you're going to have to make sacrifices in relationships with your health, with anything to make it work.
Right.
So
So an
I'll give people
essential
that warning.
on an essential level, it's a form of communication.
Yeah,
Communication helps with the stress, the anxiety, the risk, the blind spots. So you're constantly communicating,
yeah,
but you're not over communicating.
definitely not over communicating. I could be articulating a lot better.
Well, John, we covered a lot of ground. Thank
We
you for
did. I'm
doing
bummed it's
this.
over. We
I
can get
know,
going. Let's do a part two.
I know, we went a little over in a good way, but have a great day. Well, hopefully I'll see you this weekend in the neighborhood.
Let's do that.